Hey there, this is Wythe Marshall from the Stillfleet Studio. We put together a little podcast called Why We Roll, and now we're very proud to be part of the network Podderation. So if you're listening to one of Podderation's other great shows, and you're interested in TTRPGs specifically, that's tabletop role-playing games, you might be interested in our show. Why We Roll is all about how you make TTRPGs, what makes them fun, different kinds of stories you can tell with TTRPGs, and even the business, so the practical advice side. So if any of that sounds appealing, whether you're a GM, you want to design your homebrew game, or you're interested in getting in the industry, why don't you head over to Why We Roll, check us out. We really, really appreciate it, and keep making awesome stuff.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast where everyone's welcome at the table, but of course, as always, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
And this is Anthony.
And this is episode 571, the top 10 Nature Tableau engine building games. We'd like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping us unlock a brand new episode. Hey friends, so glad to have you back here this week. We are talking about something that seems very complex, both nature in its ultimate complexity, Mother Earth, and also the wonderfulness of Tableau building games. And if you're not a super huge, geeky person about tabletop games like we are, you may not know that win or lose, one of the best feelings about playing a tabletop game is when the game comes to an end, and there's actually a thing in front of you that you built. And it's yours, and you did it, and super cool. And we love that. That's one of our favorite things, right, Anthony?
Yeah, these are some of the best games because often you forget whether you're winning or losing. You're like, look at the thing I built. And someone's like, yeah, but you got like 32 points. You're like, yeah, but look at the thing I built.
That's nice.
People always assume I'm like really good at Terraforming Mars and I win all the time. I have a very poor win record at that game because... I really like to see the things go up, the tracks. Yes. Not just because I want the game to be over, but like to me, that's the objective, so that's what I'm doing. And B, I'm really just focused on beyond that, like what am I doing with my little space? Thematically, what am I building here? What is the story behind this? And then I forget, like, I'm supposed to score points. Why am I not? I should have penguins in here. What am I doing?
I know. But you look cool doing it, and that's really what a Tableau building game does.
Yeah, I have fun building it out and like looking at it and being like, and there's like a little story to it. You're like, oh, it's like this thing, and you know, it's unique.
And now more than ever, it is essential that there being nature-themed Tableau building games, because we're losing a lot of the nature that was once here, out there in the world, that we used to stumble across just organically, and now it's places you have to go visit. So in our very cosmopolitan metro way of living, we don't get to see a lot of those kind of gigantic ecosystems and wonders of the earth. So when you build a Tableau, as Anthony's saying, not only do you score points, maybe not all the points, but not only do you score points, but you get to build something that looks awesome and beautiful and is as wondrous and as complex as nature is. And we're big nature fans, so go Mother Earth. You're awesome.
Yeah, you should fight back. Take us all down a peg.
Well, here you go. You have an opportunity in these nature Tableau building games where you get to lay all those cards, let the engine kind of crank away, and smash all the little people out there. So there's a thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing you could do.
I know that's the irony of it. Like, yeah, Mother Nature. Oh, wait, these games are mean. They're always mean. What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's no game that's just like Mother Nature versus humanity. I don't think there is one. There might be somewhere out there.
I bet there is if we think about it, but I'm trying to... There's a lot of ones where like, we've already messed it up and Mother Nature's reclaiming it. There's a few of those.
Like Pompeii?
Like Pompeii.
Remember Pompeii, the board game?
Pompeii's Mother Nature versus humanity. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. Bad ending for us, but yes, that is the thing.
Yeah.
What was the one that you recently reviewed, which was the moon game where the humans get...
Oh, yeah. The Moon Colony Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the different ways that they die. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
So there you go. But that's robot-based. But again...
That is true. It is it's not just the robot uprising, though. Other things happen, but it is mostly the robot uprising.
No robots here. Just nature, birds, and animals, and tree, flora, and fauna. Just on your tabletop, looking awesome. And again, these games are wonderfully fun, and that's primarily the focus and the value, but also they're educational, which is also a thing, especially now more than ever, where you don't get to see as much of the flora and fauna out there. And I think that's helpful too.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. It's a reason that these games are so successful. People are like, "Oh, that's what outside looks like. That's cool." It's like our brains are wired to want to do that.
Yeah, and we're sticking to the games that are, with one exception, more realistic in that nature theme presentation in its natural habitat. Because I think there's a lot of games out there that's like, hey, we built a zoo, and it looks like nature, and it really doesn't. Those animals are not having a good time.
No.
So if you go visit zoos, or again, some variation of that kind of enclosure, just keep in mind, please, that that's not where they should be. They should be somewhere else. So these are the places where they should be in nature, where they come from out there in the world.
Right.
Yeah, the other list is more of a incarceration for some reason. So we're not going to be talking about those games this week. We talk about those things. Oh, I got a game for you, Anthony, that actually is, I don't know if it's a Tableau builder so much, but Dinosaur Island, right? When the dinosaurs start eating the people on the island.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, right?
It starts out as Ark Nova, and then it turns into Jurassic Park. It's great.
There you go. Well, we got great games for you, so stick around with us a little bit on that. One of the things we wanted to talk about a little bit on the sad side is one of the greatest tabletop game stores in the United States, in fact, maybe even across the planet here, the Compleat Strategist. They have multiple locations, one that Anthony and I have visited multiple times up in Manhattan, and one specifically in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And those stores have been around, the owner has been around for 50 years. With the start of Dungeons and Dragons getting out there into the market, they came on board and obviously did a lot of heavy lifting with getting really obscure role-play games. Again, talking about Dungeons and Dragons 50 years ago as obscure is kind of odd and funny, but it was weird and different and strange. And if not for these, in fact, friendly local game stores like the Compleat Strategist, the hobby would in no way, shape, or form be where it is now, because there was no internet. There was no place to really find these kind of things with the exception of like really rare, odd kind of conventions, because even back then there wasn't really board game conventions like there are now. Anthony, you visited the one in Manhattan. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it's a funny little store. Like, I worked in Manhattan. I worked in Midtown for a couple years, and it was maybe a 10-minute walk from my office, like a block or two over from the Empire State Building. And it's just a tiny little storefront right off the street there. And you walk in, and it feels old. You could see, I mean, I guess at the time it was 40 years old, but now 50. And the games are stacked on all the walls, like to the ceiling. Yes. And everything looks like it's about to fall down.
It does. It looks like a fire hazard.
Growing up in Seattle, where you can't do that because of like earthquake laws.
Sure.
And like I walk in, I'm like, that's all gonna fall on me. And I'm like, I guess there's not as many earthquakes here. I don't know. But so anyways, games everywhere, up to the ceiling, all everywhere. The aisles are super narrow, so like getting around people's tough. And in the back, it's like some of the more obscure things, and like a bunch of stuff that was on sale, and just stacked for days. So it's the kind of place where you look at it at first, you're like, it's not that big, but you could spend hours in there just kind of sifting through things and looking behind stacks because there's so much stuff piled up.
Yeah.
And it looks like a mess at first, but it's just because they had so much in stock. And they made it nice. So it's not like one of your big sprawling warehouse modern tabletop stores. It's just, it's of the time. You say, oh, it's 50 years old, and you're like, oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of good stuff back there back in the day. It's where I found my copy of Marco Polo when it was already out of print. I got like my Dice Masters when those were out of print.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the games that you listen to, like episodes, I want to say like 30 to 80 of the podcast.
Sure.
Any game that I picked up was probably purchased there, just because that was the game store I had access to, because that's where I was every day.
Yeah, no, it's kind of amazing, and I remember going there myself a couple of times, and just the amount of RPGs, those books, like it was extraordinary. And even in this day and age where everything is so incredibly digitized and cataloged, where seemingly you could find everything, these friendly local game stores like the Complete Strategist are the last bastions of like the rare out of print grail games that are not documented or not online. They just happen to be stuffed on a shelf somewhere. And only by physically going there would you know that.
Right.
And the Complete Strategist has always been historically kind of like the Mecca. It's always been like this epic kind of place to attend. And as more than really any other game store that I know of, like there's a lot of other great game stores out there that have like you said, Anthony, like warehouses full of games, but they're typically the same games.
Yeah.
Or like the newest games, as everything games kind of cycle in and out every 6 months. But the Complete Strategist had the games that, again, since they've been around for 50 years, that you couldn't find anywhere else. So if you're heading up to New York City at some point and you're going to be by the Empire State Building, Madison Square Garden, Complete Strategist is right in your neighborhood. If you're going to be out in Pennsylvania for any reason, or on that little East Coast, and you want to hit those stores up before they disappear, I highly recommend doing so if you're that kind of really nostalgic or game collector, or just want to see how things were done back in the day when things were first done.
Yeah.
And really cool people and really great games, and really thankful for their work out there, because I don't think the industry has historically given them enough support or respect for all the heavy lifting that game store owners have done over the years. So for them, and for all the game store owners out there that are working very hard to ensure that we have a third space, or we have the coolest games that you could possibly imagine, thank you so very much. With that said, let's get on to the episode. All right, Anthony. So first up is our roll for preview. What are you wanting to get to the table this week? Hopefully at the Complete Strategist. Maybe that's a thing, huh? Tie the things in, lead in. Yeah. See, I did the thing. I did the thing that connected to the thing.
My roll for preview doesn't come out for 14 months, but sure.
Oh no!
I know. In theory, I could do that. Why not?
No, quick.
Yeah.
Really quick, super quick.
Get on it. So this is recently Mage Knight released an expansion, which they announced like 2 years ago. It took forever to get this thing to market, but my copy showed up last week, and I forgot that I'd pre-ordered it because it was so long ago. The Apocalypse Dragon.
Wow, talk about a game that's been around forever too.
Mage Knight? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Like it's a whole new expansion. It has a whole campaign mode. There's like 15 scenarios in the box. It's an expensive expansion. It's like $60, but it comes with a lot of cool stuff. It has a new character. It comes with like a 5-headed dragon miniature. Paint job's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still not good. It's Wiz Kids. Guys, figure it out. Come on. It's been almost 20 years. Figure it out. But I think before it showed up in the mail, they announced another Mage Knight game, which is coming out next year. Mage Knight Emergence, the Portal to Power, is a new... it's hard to say exactly what it is in terms of the context. It doesn't feel like it's a new game. I mean, I know it's not a new game. It's a standalone release. It's fully compatible with the existing content. The rules seem to be generally the same, but it's new stuff. So think like Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion.
Oh, okay.
But for Mage Knight.
It's its own thing then?
It is its own thing. So it is a 1 to 2 player box. So it's not a 4-player version, which if you get the full Mage Knight or the Ultimate Edition, it comes with 4. The Ultimate comes with 5 characters in the box, and it plays 1 to 4 players. Do not play with 4 players. For the love of all that is holy, don't do it. This is a 1 to 2 player game.
There you go. Thank you. Because I think that people should know, if they haven't heard us previously, that this is probably, or historically or socially, I mean, this is often talked about as like the solo game.
Yeah.
And Vlaada Chvátil, like a master as far as doing this is concerned.
Yeah, no, this is one of the best dungeon crawls of all time. It's a deck building
Mm-hmm.
game, but it's also a dungeon crawler where you are moving your little guy around this map and uncovering things and fighting these different monsters. It's the ultimate puzzle take on that.
So it's super great because it has gigantic, super well-defined miniatures that take off half the board.
No, sorry.
Aw.
So you got miniatures. There are miniatures for your character. Super derpy. And then you have miniatures for the castles, and they look fine. And the castles are on little hero clicks because those have been around for a long time. And yeah, it's WizKids, y'all. Like, if you've never seen a WizKids miniature, just Google it. They're not pretty to look at. And that's what this is. But we have new content. The content in Mage Knight is what sells it, not the bad
That's
job
exactly it. Yes.
So the base game, and I don't even know if they still sell the base game. That's a great question.
I bet you I know where you can get it.
Yeah. I don't think the base game's in stock anymore. I think you just have to buy the Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition's $125, and it comes with a lot more content than just a regular old person would need, right? Like, I have the Ultimate Edition. I've really only played the Lost Legion expansion stuff a couple times because the base game has so much content already there. It's got 5 characters, and because you're mostly going to play this solo, maybe with 2 people, 5 characters is already so much. So I like the idea of having a new SKU and saying, okay, it's for 1 to 2 players and it's new stuff, because then someone like me can pick it up and like, great, I get 2 new characters and I have a smaller box I can carry with me to someone's house, not the giant Ultimate Edition. And I don't feel like I'm purchasing stuff I already own. So it's kind of like, again, like Jaws of the Lion or like the Spirit Island version they released in Target for $30.
Sure.
Where it's like, it's accessible, it's smaller, it's technically cheaper. I mean, it's half the price of the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
But it has all the core elements of the game in there. So you get these 2 new characters, Darius Firerock and Avinia Freegrove.
Oh,
for sure.
Cool. Sure.
It looks like it's a dwarf and an elf. So if that helps,
that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, and it's fully interchangeable with the existing content, so you can expand it to 3 to 4 players with other stuff. It has 3 teaching scenarios, which is great. The original game has like 1.5 kind of tutorials that you can walk through, and then 5 full scenarios after that, which for most people is plenty of content. Like, that's probably 2 dozen plays right there, because the game's long and hard. If you really, really, really get into it, then you can go get the Ultimate Edition, and this content doesn't go away. It's not redundant. It just adds into it. So I know some people are complaining about various things. I think it's cool to have more stuff.
Sure.
There's not that much stuff in the box considering what they're charging for it, but that's just modern board games.
Yes.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, the original Mage Knight, I think, was $60 or $70 and had double all of this, but that was 14 years ago. So yeah, Emergence, Portal of Power. They say May 2027, which probably means December 2027, because they've been like, I'm still waiting on my Star Trek expansions, because those were announced a year ago and are now 6 months overdue, and my Apocalypse Dragon was almost a year overdue. So I don't know what's going on at WizKids, but they're probably fighting the good fight against tariffs and whatnot. So
I guess they should call us. We could help them out, because
right?
they need to get these products out. We live local.
Yeah.
So if you're WizKids and you need a hand, we will, stack boxes on trucks, or clearly Anthony will start painting miniatures for you, because he is really disappointed in you. Just saying.
That's true. I'm really slow, but it'll be better than this. This is bad, y'all. Bad. Again, I should say, they're not actually actively bad like they used to be. Now they're just
that's true.
Actively forgettable. You're like, that's paint on the thing. Like, I opened up the Apocalypse Dragon. It's not pretty, but it's not like the eyeball goes down to the chin like it used to be.
Yeah, I remember those days. That wasn't that long ago.
Like, I got rid of my original edition of Mage Knight at some point, but it's just some of the worst paint jobs I've ever seen in my life. So,
sure.
But yeah, not to dwell on that, because again, this is just one of the best games ever made. And if you play solo games, if you like like puzzly, takes like trying to figure out the most optimal way to use things. This is that type of game.
I think it's really important point because I think that people need to understand that dungeon crawls are typically like, when you say dungeon crawls, everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a thing where you throw dice and the monster, you hit the monster and the monster hits you and blah blah blah. But I don't think most people don't understand, because again, the industry has not really fully fleshed out or explained the systems, especially with a lot of the crowdfunding is so indulgently focused on its miniatures that it doesn't really take the time to explain the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people, when they think they bought one dungeon crawl, and if they don't like it, they may not know that other dungeon crawls are different. Like Mage Knight is very different than any of the other things. Like Frosthaven's very different. That's also very different too. But then there's Massive Darkness, which is also different. These are all very different systems. So if you see a box with miniatures and hero characters moving through the landscape, take an extra second to really look into the game itself and read through some of the actual rule book.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's really great experiences with those dungeon crawls, and they're not just all hack and slashes. And again, with Mage Knight, it's a very thoughtful game. And as Anthony said, very puzzly, and I think that's again something that you may be interested in getting involved with. So they're not all the same, I mean, you have Kingdom Death Monster. That's a dungeon crawl, kind of, somewhat, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, my favorite game of all time now. My number one on my top 100 is Voidfall, right? Which is technically on the box. It says it's a 4X game, but that is to 4X games what Mage Knight is to dungeon crawls. It's really not. Like, it's using the theme of a dungeon crawl, but really it's a heavy Euro with a lot of complex, tracking and deck building mechanics that go on top of it. So if you're not a heavy Euro gamer, if you're not like digging all the lack of dice, if you don't want to like make complex decisions and puzzle together the best possible solution, then it's not for you. But if all that sounds awesome, it is awesome, and you should play it.
Sure. I think actually, in fact, a lot of games are coming back around to that, like a lot of the roguelike games, where it is really about how do you build up your character and what steps do you take in order to kind of develop. That's now in vogue again, when like Slay the Spire and a lot of other games where it's just like you're building something up. You're building a deck up, you're building a character up, your choices affect other choices. Like, that's the new wave thing. But that's kind of old school. That's the way, it used to be. That's the way where like a lot of those kind of dungeon crawls were D&D inspired. And then there was a period where like, I guess even D&D was inspired by a lot of board games where you had like, I guess it was at 3.5 and 4, where it's just like a lot of hack and slash kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So now we're back into the period of like very thoughtful engagement, sir.
Yeah.
Look what you did. Bully to you, sir. Way to whack that creature with your +5 axe.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Although it is hard sometimes. You go to the game nights and people are like, I have to do what now? And I'm like, I have this other one where you roll dice. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do that. All right.
Well, again, it's a beautiful, it's not to knock the hack and slash typical miniatures dungeon crawl. I think there's a beauty in that as well. I just want people to know that there's a great difference between them.
Yeah.
So, because I think it's easy to pass up, because when you look at the crowdfunding pages, it's miniature vomit. It's just like, oh, and this miniature, again, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're complex, they're gorgeous. And then like, I don't know what the game is. Beyond the miniatures, like 12 pages of pictures, and then like another 35 pages if this thing comes out. And I was like, all right, yeah, I guess. Sure. I'm sure it's fine. It's fine, right? It's fine.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of those games that like when I pull it out, I'm going to leave it out for a few weeks or more, because it takes a little bit to get your head back wrapped around it. But I like that they're making this more accessible version for that reason. Like, same reason, like I still have my Jaws of the Lion, but I got rid of Gloomhaven,
Sure. Well, I think my point here also is that do not overlook this just because it doesn't look as glossy and beautiful and big miniatures as a lot of the other dungeon crawls out there.
Sure.
There's a really good reason, as Anthony's saying, to be excited about this. So if you have not tried it, you should try it. And if you do have it, it might be something you want to pick up. So Cool. All right, with that said, let's get on to our roll for review. Anthony, this week I got 2 games for you. I finally got a chance to play Seven Wonders Dice.
Ooh,
Ha-ha! Dice! Ta-da!
Yeah, we just talked about the lack of dice. Now we're back to dice.
Dice! We took an intelligent, thoughtful, provoking card drafting game, and then we're like, what about dice? And Anton Bowser was like, I will sign off on that for money.
Yeah.
And they were like, awesome. No, I'm sure he was totally on board for this. So Seven Wonders Dice game. It's not even dice game, it's Seven Wonders Dice, which I think also kind of diminishes it. You're really supposed to think about it or call it Seven Wonders. Wait for it. Dice, right? It's not Seven Wonders Dice, because then you would think like, oh, cool, I'm going to purchase a bunch of dice. No, it's actually a game that you can play, and it's, I guess, for lack of a better term, it's a roll and write. That's a thing that it is, Anthony. So
fun. Why are you playing this?
I don't, because Seven Wonders. I love Seven Wonders. I've always
the
loved
Seven Wonder side apparently is more powerful than the roll and write side.
The love of Seven Wonders. The pull is worse than the push away from the roll and write. Yeah, I'm not historically a big fan of roll and write games. I do own a bunch of them, and there are some that I do like, but on the majority of them I do not care for, because it dumbs down and simplifies the system into me taking a dry erase marker and making really weird squiggles onto a board that looks like a mess by the end. So it doesn't give you that Tableau feeling necessarily.
Right.
So I got to play Seven Wonders Dice. This recently came out last year. And really basically what it comes down to is you have your own player board, because again, it's a roll and write. So you have your own little write board. Instead of a dry erase marker, there's this wax pencil. Now, the interesting thing about this wax pencil situation is it kind of works a little bit better as far as marking the board without having the seemingly problematic overindulgence of smudges that comes from a dry erase marker. And obviously, it's not going to dry out, so there's a smart choice there. But also at the same time, it is still a pencil. So there's also the danger and the reality of you're going to probably push a little too hard on the pencil, and you're going to like indent the board a little bit. Because again, the boards are not very thick or strong. Mm-hmm. Plus, in fact, now you have a situation where this black wax pencil gets a little messy. So you're going to, when you clean the board, you're going to find this around the board too. So please be careful if you have a tablecloth or anything that you do not want to get dirty or stained, because that might be an issue. Now, if you've ever played Seven Wonders, and hopefully you have, because it's an awesome game, it is a drafting game of civilization building. You can play up to 7 players, and basically you're given a hand of cards, and the cards consist of, which also you find in the game, are consistent of raw and processed materials that you'll be able to use to purchase other things. There is culture that you'll be able to invest in. There's also an economy. The culture is blue, the economy is yellow, and I should go back for a second. And then there's brown and gray cards that come into play. Those are the basic resources and the process resources. There's also green cards. Those are the science cards, typically score you a lot of points. And then there's finally the red cards. These red cards are military, which you'll be able to attack your neighbors. Now, when you play the original Seven Wonders, eventually the basic resources and the process resources, the expensive ones, they go away. And then the final third era, you get these guild cards that score you points. These are the purple cards. If you play with the expansion, the leaders expansion, there's also leaders that give you a number of different bonuses. Those are the white cards in the game as well. And if you play with cities, that also gives you a number of different special abilities in the game as well, typically attacking or taking money from other people. All of those different elements can be found on this board. Very simplified, all laid out for you. But the game itself is no longer using cards. It's using a box that it looks like, one of these kind of Roman, Greek kind of buildings. And in that box is a set of dice. So 7 different dice go into the box. You put the top on the box. You you slowly shake the box, hopefully, and then you pull off the top. And then based upon where those dice have situated themselves inside the box, each of those corners tells you what the cost is to take the action of that particular die. So it goes from 0 to 3, and yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so there's 3. And then if you choose one of those dice, you have to take a look on your board because there's typically an additional cost that you have to pay in order to mark off that particular section. Not to worry, you start with money to begin the game. Money acts as a wild, so it pays for everything. Here's where the differences start coming in. Obviously, the dice are very different because there's no cards. There are dice now, and you'll be shuffling that little box throughout the game. You'll be selecting one die each turn throughout the game until the game comes to an end. And same thing like Seven Wonders, you'll be building up raw resources and the process resources. Those resources will count as wilds now. You don't have to have a specific type of resource in order to build something in a different section. You just need to have a resource. So if a certain section costs 5 and you have 4 resources, well, 4 right off the top. Those are taken care of, and then you have to pay an extra coin to be able to cover that certain area. The board itself has the same identical areas. The blue has the culture, so there's a number of different point scoring, but it doesn't give you anything beyond points. The red areas allow you to attack other players to score points, but also gives you an opportunity to defend yourself with shields. And then there is the science section, which in this case can give you points, but nowhere near what the base game of Seven Wonders does, which is gives you like multitude of points. Basically, it's going to give you access to special dice. There are 3 special dice in the game. Once one player activates, that particular section, the die comes into the box. It takes out one of the resource dies, and now that die is available for you. If any other player unlocks that die, they can also use that die in future rounds. Eventually, these 3 dice, the black one comes in, gives you a special ability. The purple one allows you to score based upon if you have the most of an area checked off in comparison to your neighbors, you can score the points. It's also one of the ways that the game comes to an end. Once someone has 3 guilds completed, the game comes to an end. And then there's a white die, which allows you to use the leaders. Now, there are not specific leaders in this game, but there are opportunities to scratch off a leader or mark one of those spots used, and it gives you a bonus to scratch off 2 of the other spots on the board. Finally, there's also your particular wonder. When you play Seven Wonders, you get a wonder board that looks like that particular area. So Giza has the Giza pyramids, and then there's some sort of special ability that matches up with that particular wonder. Here, you have a very small, tiny little area that shows you 3 benefits you have for that particular wonder. So you do have a little asymmetricalness as far as the wonder is concerned. And also the science area is mixed up for each player a little bit. So that's a little the asymmetry that comes into the game. But basically, the game is going to come down to rolling the dice in the box, picking out a particular die, paying the cost, marking it off on the board, and then when the game comes to an end, obviously you see how many points you score. So Seven Wonders, if you play it enough, and I don't know how many times you actually have to play it to actually feel like it's enough, but let's say you play it 3 or 4 times, you get a sense of what's in the cards. How many of this, how many of that, what builds into this, what builds into that. It's not a very hard process. There's no necessarily need for memorization. It comes to you in subsequent plays. The Seven Wonders dice game, it just lets you do things. Obviously, you want to build resources and get money early so that you can build other spots later. But also, like, if the dice don't come out in your particular way, then you're kind of not going to be able to build a certain thing. Or if a die doesn't roll with that certain side, then you're kind of not going to be able to build in that particular area. This is kind of similar to the Seven Wonders card game where other people might hate draft and get rid of a card that you need, or just build a card that you really need and you would kind of get stuck. That happens a lot less in Seven Wonders, the card game. Seven Wonders dice is challenging because you're going to be able to do, I would say, about 2/3 of the entire player board. But really, honestly, the game moves so incredibly fast, and because the dice are so random, both in what side they show and also what cost they have, you never really feel that you're making any truly strategic decisions. You're just making very I wouldn't even say it's very like tactically driven. You're just making some economic decisions as like, can I afford this? Because if I can, I should do it. But also, I don't know what everyone else is doing because the turns are very quick. The game typically says it takes about a half hour. I think you can knock this game out easily once if you're a gamer, I think you can knock this game out in 10 minutes. It's so quick. There's no consternation of like, what should I go? Should I go here or go there? Like, can you really afford this? Kind of, because again, the cost in the box, the cost on the board really kind of holds you back from a lot of spots. So, yeah, I love Seven Wonders, and I have such a love and a dedication and a passion for it that like, I'm not mad at this game. Like, I don't mind that this game exists. I was disappointed when they announced that there was going to be a Seven Wonders game, and I was disappointed when they mentioned it was going to be a dice game. I was like, okay, that could work if they make it like Civolution, right? Like that Feld game where it was like multiple dice and you build these things up and these resources. No, this is a very standard roll and write game that if anyone's played a roll and write game, they're probably even better equipped to play this, because if you've played Seven Wonders, you're like, strategy, I should be building this thing and I should have this massive kind of construction. Nope, it's very boiled down to a lot of symbols that you've seen in a lot of other games before. So I don't think you need to play this on any level. I think Seven Wonders is a very good game that people should play. If you're saying, like, Chris, I'm a gateway gamer, I'm new into the hobby, I don't really want to deal with card drafting, then Seven Wonders Architect is a simplified version of Seven Wonders, almost too simplified, honestly, in my opinion. But that is a more, like, weight-wise and play-wise, these kind of both fit the same vibe, right? Like, Seven Wonders Architect is light enough that I could throw it down on the table in 10 minutes, be done with it, and like have taught everyone, because again, you just pick between 3 cards. This is, if you know anything about Seven Wonders, we roll the dice, you see what comes up here, build resources, build money, then build everything else. What order? Doesn't really matter. Money and resources are first, and then build everything else. But I don't get strategy from this. I don't get civilization building from this. Like Twilight Inscription, I feel like I'm building a galaxy out. I feel like my neighbors and I are battling on some level. Here, I don't get any of that. Like, yeah, there's some battling, but it's not really a thing where you're like stressing out. And again, if you've ever played Seven Wonders Duel or the Lord of the Rings version of it, the tenseness of that is really, it's so present to you throughout the whole game. I don't get this here. I get this as like, I'm rolling, I'm doing things. So, if you want to play a roll and write, I think you could play. I think there are far worse games than this. I think the dice rolling in the box is kind of smart and funny and interesting, but it's also kind of, again, as all dice rolling games are, especially when a roll and write, can be kind of random. So I can't say to dodge this because it's a roll and write, but I can't say it's a play because it's Seven Wonders. There should be civilization building here. And at the end of the game, I never feel like I built a civilization. I just feel like I played a roll and write. So I guess from a pure roll and write situation, I'm going to give this the lightest play possible. But please, this is not a civilization building game. This is not Twilight Inscription version of Seven Wonders. So, yeah, it's a roll and write, which again, coming from me, is a little bit of a backhanded compliment. So, I should probably say, and I guess, Anthony, way back in the day, if you remember, again, we're talking about game stores and stuff like this. Was it Roll Through the Ages? Mm-hmm. Right? Was that the game we played with the wooden boards and the wooden dice?
Yeah.
And that was a roll and write, right?
Yeah.
That is a far better civilization building game than this.
Sure.
Like, that's a good game. I own that game. It's somewhere. I haven't played it in years, but I own it. And I do feel like I'm building up a civilization as much as one can be in a dice rolling game. This, I don't feel that. This, I feel like I'm just playing dice. It could be any game. But so it gets the most tepid play for me as a roll and write, not as a strategy or a civilization building game, because at that point it would be a dodge.
Right.
All right. Next up for me is a really interesting game that our friend Megan had brought when we were at Long Island Tabletop that I want to talk about because it's so weirdly interesting and macabre. Obviously, right? It's called Corvids. And again, the the tagline for this on Board Game Geek is birds peck at a pile of trash and steal the best bits for themselves. So the look of this game, the artwork of this game, it's all in black and white. It's got this really cool ink drawing look to it. And it's very Edgar Allan Poe / Barnes and Noble, like it's almost kind of like cool and, cool in its aesthetics and very emo looking. But again, it's not necessarily trying to go for that necessarily, but it is certainly kind of investing in that aesthetic of the Raven, right? From Edgar Allan Poe, where like these very intelligent class of birds. So like the raven, the magpie, the jay, the nutcracker, all of these different birds are very intelligent, incredibly intelligent. The game itself really comes down to something very interesting, Anthony. I've never seen this before. I don't know if have you ever seen this game before by chance?
Yeah, we saw it at PAX.
Okay. So I never got to play it before. Did you play it before?
No, I think we just got a demo.
Okay.
I was with Will and Megan. So.
Okay. So I didn't get to play it before, see it before. So we got to the table. Basically, it's this little square, almost like a neckerchief that's kind of rolled out there. And on it itself is all the names of the birds on the outside. And that represents their nests. And then the cards itself, which represents the different trash, are kind of randomly thrown onto this little player board. And then your job on your turn is to do two things. One, you take these little pair of tweezers, you pick a card that is not held down by another card, and you flip it over. Now, it could be face up or face down. Again, depends on the particular card. And then you move on to your next move, which is actually to take a card. And then some cards actually have an activation ability. Some cards are, when they're taken face down, don't activate until a later point. And then some cards just score victory points throughout. On top of which, there are little feather pieces that are dropped randomly on top of the cards. So if you pull a card back and it has one of these kind of like little wooden meeple kind of feathers, if you collect enough of these, I think if you collect 2 feathers, you can steal a card from one of the other birds, the people at the table, only if their nest is revealed, because everyone is given one of these special bird cards and it's hidden. And on that card, it has a secret scoring option. So once your nest on that board is kind of revealed because people are flipping cards away from the nest and taking cards away from the nest, now your nest is exposed. So now cards can be taken away from you. Now your job is to flip cards back to cover your nest. So yeah, it's really smart. It's quaint. The actual gameplay itself, I felt, was not really there so much. Because flipping of the cards is very random and chaotic. Did you grab one card? Did it hit another card? Did you flip over a whole pile? How far did you flip over something? It doesn't give you real hard kind of rules about where you could flip and how you could flip. The feathers are not, you're not required to steal something from someone, which you probably should be, because things spiral out of control as far as scoring points are concerned. Certain cards will defend you, certain cards won't. Again, it's like there's a lot of just kind of general randomness about the game, but really coming down to the flipping and the picking of cards, there's really not much to it other than I saw a card that I think could help me and it's available, or I flipped a pile and maybe something became revealed. So gameplay wise, it's incredibly light, but I kind of get it. Again, the design is kind of lends the thematics to it. I don't know if I'm really overly interested in these really brilliant birds picking through trash and trying to get cool collectibles. But again, the artist did a great job here. The designer knew what they were doing. It fits with the game theme. I want to say, Anthony, and it's hard to say this, but I want to say this is more of a game experience than a game.
Sure.
Because I don't feel like I'm really like actually doing anything at all to like fully participate in winning the game. Like, I feel like it's just the card's there, so I pick it, or I flip a card over, and how far was I supposed to flip over the stack? And I don't have to steal from somebody, but I really should. And maybe I collected a certain number of cards, but they're face down, so nobody knows, so it's random. Yeah. For the aesthetics alone, and the cool idea, and the amazing artwork, I'm going to give it, again, a very incredibly light play, just from the standpoint of, like, it's a really cool looking game. You should, again, I would recommend probably playing it once just to be like, oh, that was cool. That was different. I like certain ideas about the whole thing. But I think it's a game experience. I don't think in my world of rating, I think there are just some games out there that are so thematically wonderful, but so devoid of actual gameplay that I think it honestly hurts the game to say to like give it a number or a star rating or something like that. Because it's just like, it's an experience. I had an experience with this game. It was cool. I like the aesthetics of it. I don't think I did anything particularly good to score points or not score points. I don't know. Like, I was there. It's fine. I don't know. Maybe at a higher player count, maybe there are expansions that you could pick up that maybe give more gameplay to it. So overall, it's a game experience. If you do see it at a game table, I would recommend playing it just because it's a cool vibe. And sometimes a cool vibe is a good time. So yeah, Corvids. It's a game. It's a thing. It's a thing out there in the world.
2 very light plays today.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, sometimes there's games like that. So anyhow, all right, now on to our feature review. So for our feature review this week, we talked about it earlier, and we always want to bring it back because there is nothing more important than nature, because we often forget, Anthony, that we ourselves are part of nature. That was deep, right? Was too. Was that too deep for the podcast?
I think so. I think you might have broken it.
Sorry, folks. Let's go back.
People are veering off the road right now in existential dread.
No, I think it's a good thing. I think oftentimes we think of nature as being the other, right? The birds, the animals, the plants, and everything. But like, again, without going into a whole wondrous exploration of kind of everything that is alive as we are and that we are part of, I think there's wonder and awe to be held. And I think having an opportunity not only to play nature-themed games, which is amazing, but also to play Tableau building games, where, as we talked about earlier, you're going to typically a Tableau is putting cards out in front of you as like your play area, and utilizing an engine building mechanic to the Tableau building. So you're not just putting cards out just to look pretty. You're putting cards out, and based on how you place them out into your Tableau, they will do different things. They'll activate certain powers and abilities. They'll chain off each other. They'll score different things. And at the end, typically, you'll have an ecosystem of some format that will make you feel like, oh, here I was wandering in nature and participating in all the wonderfulness. But also, as we mentioned, fun, because these are great engine building games. And there's nothing really more fun than like, hey, I built a thing. I did a thing. I'm building a thing. It's doing a thing. I built this thing. It did a thing. So, yay, I did a thing.
Nothing Chris likes more than doing a thing.
He likes doing a thing, man. I tell you. All right, Anthony. So let's start off with our number 10, Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, Mars, man. Terraforming that thing.
Yes.
It is nature in the sense that it is a barren planet that you are going to and literally changing into a different ecosystem through the process of building your own tableau of cards. And many of those are industrial in nature, but not all of them. Sometimes you're building a lake. Sometimes you're throwing a comet at something. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Sometimes you're raising penguins or dogs or
It's true.
all sorts of little animals.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of everything. I mean, obviously you're playing a corporation, so that the elements of nature come and go, but at the end of the day, you are quite literally building forests on a planet that could not previously have forests.
Yeah, forests and oceans throughout, and it's a little more on the fantastical side. It's a little more science fiction, but certainly it is leaning towards more science.
Right.
And the idea of terraforming is a real idea. Like, if we did in fact terraform another planet like Mars, we would take certain actions to build up the oxygen and temperature and the water supply in order to support later life. And it would take, just like in terraforming Mars, it would take generations.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to grow back. You need to kind of spawn bacteria, which then you need animals, and you need certain conditions for those things to be like in the correct level of management. And really, again, this is one of the kind of the reasons and problems I have with the terraforming Mars, at least the Steam version of it, is that it doesn't highlight or focus on the Tableau building. But terraforming Mars is a Tableau builder.
Oh, yeah.
So building up those different chain of activities, like you could be like hardcore, like I'm all about plants, man. Like I just want to make plants. Like that's my thing. Plants and trees and algae and fungus and all that stuff. Like, and I'm scoring points from doing that. Or again, like you said, you want to go animals, you could do animals. Animals score a lot of points in the game. But you have to build up to those certain conditions, which is really smart and fun and interesting, because you can't start out with a barren planet and just have puppies. It would be very bad for the puppies.
Right.
All right. Well, that's our number 10. Our number 9 here is obviously probably everyone's favorite, Wingspan, or Finspan, or if you really want to go really far out to Fantasyland, Wormspan, because that's also somewhat of a nature Tableau building game, but it's more fantasy, of course. So sticking to Wingspan and Finspan, Anthony, we're spanning out there, and in Wingspan particularly, you are building into 3 different Tableau areas, these different ecosystems in which the birds benefit off. So you could have the birds up in the trees, you could have them out in the fields, or you could have them in the water. And again, there's a lot of different conditions in which the birds need in order to kind of exist in those areas. So, it's a wildlife preserve. So again, it kind of avoids the kind of zoo-ish kind of thing. Still a little problematic in some cases, but nonetheless, you gotta have right food, Anthony. You gotta do the food, and you gotta do the locations. And again, this is one of the most popular games of all time from Elizabeth Hargrave, and rightfully so, because it does a really wonderful thing, which again, it brought people into the hobby that were not here before, but they love birds. They love nature, Anthony. They love to make ecosystems.
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny game. Like, if you'd ask me, like, how many copies do you think this game about birds will sell? And I'm like, I don't know, like 40, 50,000. I'm like, wrong, 5 million. Ha ha ha.
Wow.
So always surprising. And yeah, like you got birds, you got fish, you got dragons. Pick your poison.
Sure.
I like dragons. I also like the Wormspan because, at least in terms of like ecosystems and stuff, you're also building their homes. You're building out the caves.
It's true.
So, but yeah, it's a good system, and they could keep doing it. I know he said they're not going to, but they could keep doing it with other things.
They're going to keep doing it.
Probably. It's a lot of money.
And then obviously with the Finspan too, the different depths of the ocean, the further it goes, the more,
right.
I mean, the fish, different adaptations for different depths of water.
Right.
So like having the angular fish at the bottom where they practically are blind, but somehow are able to navigate the waters at that deep level. So it's such an interesting concept, and Elizabeth Hargrave has created a wonderful Tableau building here engine. And it's so nice to get so many more other people involved into gaming that may not be so. All right, number 8 is Arboretum. Again, build the Arboretum of your dreams. Again, this is not necessarily a natural out there world environment, but we wanted to bring this in as well. And here, at the same time, this is a very simple, straightforward strategy card game for 2 to 4 players. And basically, you're putting together sets of cards, and you're laying them out into your Tableau in order to increase the point scoring possibilities based upon the trees that are in your particular area. I remember when this first came out, there's been other printed versions of this since then. It was just extraordinary. The artwork here was so incredibly beautiful on the cards. And it was such a relatively simple mechanic to kind of build up this tableau and how they kind of work together based upon how much you could put together as far as the cards are concerned. And again, it's something that it's gotten so many reprints because there's just something beautiful about trees and just the wonderment of them and how they're all seemingly identical but so vastly different from each other that it's a game that I still play till to today. It just does such a great job as far as presenting nature in all its glory.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing that had like you this small little box, this very simple little thing, just beautiful, beautiful cards. Every edition of this is beautiful, and it held up. The game's over 10 years old, but it's still like a solid staple in that like small, throw it in your bag, something colorful and bright and accessible and not violent to bring to game night.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful deck of cards, and it's amazing. It's magical when you have a deck of cards that can do so many different things. And when everyone gets done, you look around the table, it's like, ooh, beautiful forest. Everything's beautiful here.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is our number 7, Meadow. So Meadow here is way back 2021. Again, another set collecting game. And here it's a little more, this is definitely a bigger, full board game out here because there's over 200 unique cards. And again, the part of the beauty here is the hand painted watercolor illustrations. I think is what it's known for. It has this little cute little ferret on the cover. And basically to win, you're collecting cards that have valuable species on it, landscapes and different discoveries. And it's a little bit more on the heavier side than we talked to Arboretum as a very kind of entry level gateway game. But this game allows you to do a lot more because you're building up a tableau as you kind of search a different area with your explorer and you're looking around and again, all the different natural creatures that come across your pathway and how those kind of stack up together and they kind of grow. It's one of the most beautiful presentations out there as far as a card game concerned that really kind of provides like realistic artistic representations of nature in its like real look. It's not fantasy in any kind of particular way, but it lends that watercolor artwork lends itself to such beauty. Again, whether it's mushrooms or little mice out there in the field, it's quite a beautiful game and a really fun game for a lot of different ages. This is something that will challenge a family, but also again, gamers a game night, and it's won a lot of awards as well.
Yeah, it's so pretty. That's always the thing that jumps out to me about Meadow. I remember when they released this, and I was like, "Oh, that cover is kind of a shame because it has bits of the artwork, but it doesn't really capture." It's too busy. There's too much going on in that cover.
It is,
like,
which is surprising because
you dig into any one of the cards, and it's just like full illustration, like just little tiny icons off to the side, so you can see all the beautiful artwork, and you lay all that out in a tableau in front of you, and it really does feel like you're going on this nature walk. Like it's such a nice experience. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the board itself is just beautiful with how the cards lay in these little holsters and they come out to the tableau and then you build your tableaus around it. So, which again is interesting because the graphic design is so straightforward and so sharp and smart, but the box, like you said, I do agree too. Like it's got this cute little, ferret on it, but also it looks like something that's like, it could be a puzzle. I'm not sure, it doesn't lend itself as far as like a game's concerned.
Right.
All right. Next up, our number 6 is, this is kind of, it's thematic. Our number 6 is evolution, but also evolution climate, but also oceans, but also nature. So it's a lot of things, and primarily it's a lot of things because the game has had, I guess for itself, it's had multiple incarnations, or I guess I should probably just use their words, which is evolutions. So Anthony and I have played a super early preview version of this. How many years ago was that, Anthony?
It was 12 years ago.
12 years ago. So evolution, again, the base game here and all of its evolutions basically come down to you are evolving your creatures, or I shouldn't say creatures, like your animals of that particular age. So if you play original evolution, you're dealing with more prehistoric kind of, you're dealing with dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers and things of that nature, but also you are adding on particular traits that could fit the carnivores or the herbivores and benefit their survival from feeding and growing. And basically, you're expanding your population and you are growing in size, whether it's that particular animal or its pack size. And then you're trying to survive, I guess, the watering hole, which all of the animals are trying to survive around. So carnivores are problematic because they eat your herbivores, but herbivores have their defenses as well. Now, that same mechanic can be found in its other evolved form. So if you play Evolution Climate, now the different climate and the different seasons and how that kind of affects the animals come into play. If you play Oceans, obviously now you're dealing with the oceans and the game is further refined. And now currently Nature is the current, I guess, seemingly final incarnation against Evolution, where it's once again very realistic, nature-based in our particular time and space. So again, it depends, right? It depends on what version you play, what cards you play with. There's a lot of expansions to all of these different versions. So there's a nature version, the big box expansion, there's Flight, there's Jurassic, there's natural disasters, Arctic tundra, Amazon rainforest. So there's a lot of different versions to play, but basically it comes down to dealing with nature. What can your animals in their natural environment be able to do? And what traits kind of benefit them and how they kind of interact with themselves and other creatures in that particular area.
Yeah. This is a funny game that's been around forever. And I remember like early on, we talked to somebody on their team and they're like, oh, we have a 10-year plan for this game. We're going to like evolve it and build it out. It's going to be our whole thing. Our whole company's going to be built around this game. And we're like, this game? Really? And hey, they did it.
They did it.
Egg on our face.
Well, we played a very early, super early, crazy early version of it, which they corrected.
Yeah. So that, if you want to listen to that, you can. It's on episode 28.
Wow.
June 1st, 2014, we played through a prototype copy, like literally cut out and sent to us.
Sure.
During their Kickstarter campaign, their first Kickstarter campaign. Most of us were not impressed. So
yeah, that was North Star Games when they were first coming out, but the game has certainly evolved as I just mentioned multiple times. So I haven't played the newest version, the nature version, but it looks really sweet. So
yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, next up is, in fact, our number 5. This is Forest Shuffle, also known as Forest Shuffle Alpine, Forest Shuffle Dartmoor, because it's also had several, I guess you would say, I wouldn't say evolutions, but the Forest Shuffle has taken place in other areas around the world and utilized trees and animals and bugs and stuff in those particular areas as well. So in Forest Shuffle, again, it's another engine building Tableau game. You're going to build trees. Trees are awesome. Trees are so great because trees provide food and shelter and a whole bunch of different things for a whole bunch of different animals out there. You can't imagine. And that's one of the great things about Forest Shuffle. You're like, I know trees, I know animals, I know bugs, I know what they do with themselves out there in nature. It's like, you probably don't, because when you play this game, you're putting out the trees first, typically, or you're getting trees, certain trees, and again, based upon the animal or the bug or whatever else might be, can benefit, can work together, can score points, of course, because it's an engine building game. And basically, you're building up, again, this forest, this ecosystem that by the end of the game, you're going to have trees that are surrounded by birds and butterflies and different animals, and some animals eat other animals, so they score certain points, but they have to be placed in a certain way. And it's a really interesting game because the cards have these kind of multi-use kind of function to them. So some cards are left-right. So based on how you place the card, you block out the other animal because it's tucked underneath the tree. Some cards are top-bottom. So again, how you place the cards. You'll be able to benefit from like the birds and the things that fly versus the animals that stay on the ground. It has a lot of different dynamics to it, but it's really fun. And again, at the end of the game, you have a really cool tableau of really fun stuff out there.
Yeah, no, it's a great one, and they just keep releasing new content for it. So you can keep building a bigger, broader, more unique tableau if you like.
Yeah, it's a lot of a game. I think that was my review. Like I liked it, but it was a lot of a game. It takes a while. I haven't played any of the new versions of it, so I'm really excited about getting those to the table because there might be a little more crispness as far as like sharpness of play and just get through it a little quicker. But again, by the end of the game, you've built a wonderful, wonderful forest ecosystem out there in the world. All right, next up is number 4, Kavango. And this is a game about building and protecting nature. And once again, you're drafting cards and you're building a tableau. And the focus here is the wilderness of South Africa. And in particular, you're a conservation expert that is trying to rewild, take these animals, again, from these places they should not be, and help them kind of acclimate back into their natural environment. So throughout the game, you are drafting cards, you're building up this ecosystem for the different animals, you're placing animals into those ecosystems, you're providing haven for these endangered animals. Again, Africa deals a lot with people coming to poach. Terrible thing. Stop doing that. Bad people. But it's a very modern, realistic take on conservation in Southern Africa. There's, again, hundreds of cards that come into play here. It's a beautiful game. The miniatures are really nice. You got screen printed miniatures. You get all these beautiful illustrations of all these different animals. And based on how you can kind of put them in your tableau, based upon a number of different conditions that come into play, just a really extraordinary game. A lot of fun.
Yeah, this is it's such an interesting game, and it's one of those things that doesn't exist without crowdfunding.
Yes,
because this is the two designers here, one of whom's the artist. They were over there. They were doing this work and seeing the what goes into it and what comes out of it, and what other industry could you have somebody like, we're going to go live over here for a while and do some interesting work, and then we're going to come home and make a game about it, and then you're all going to help us publish it. It's going to be great. So
yeah, I remember us talking about this quite some time ago, and it's really nice to see it actually physically in person. And they did such a great job. I'm really impressed. All right, our number 3 here is Ecosystem. A little bit on the nose, I agree. But Ecosystem came out in 2019. There's other Ecosystem games out here. This one is by Matt Simpson, so just to kind of clarify that a little bit. Ecosystem looks to be a very simplistic family game, and that's really how I would kind of lend itself to like other people. Like, hey, are you looking for something like this game? Here, take this might be the game for you. Again, what's really interesting about this is, once again, you're drafting cards in order to build a balanced ecosystem. So, and again, that's very complex, and typically that means humans have done stupid things and have unbalanced the ecosystem, because typically the ecosystem can do the balancing by itself. But basically, the game is putting cards into your tableau, basically a grid system in front of yourself that manages the different animals that come into play. Because again, the circle of life, certain animals eat other animals, certain animals need water, certain wildlife, certain plants and flowers and things of that nature. So, and basically it comes together in a very simple format where you're just going to be able to score points and utilize the special abilities of those particular animals and bugs and streams and wolves and everything else that comes into play. So based upon how you put them into your tableau, based upon adjacency really matters very much here. You're going to score a number of points. So you might be seeing someone building a certain ecosystem and they're taking cards into that. So maybe you want to go the other way, build something else. That might be to your benefit. But by the end of the game, everyone has a very unique ecosystem. And this is certainly a game that is on the lighter side. So it could be played with families. It could be played with like very new kind of gateway gamers, and everyone really enjoys it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because we have all these games and you look at them and you're like, is this educational? Is this educational? And these are games first, obviously, but this is,
Sure.
Coming from Genius Games, you're like, oh, okay. they put in the extra work here.
They did. A little bit of elbow grease on that.
Yeah, like, which is great because then you kind of get that feel from it.
Absolutely. All right. Our number 2 here is Biome. This is a game that I reviewed a little while back. I think more than a year ago at this point. And this is a Tableau builder in which you're actually competing with other players at the table. Obviously, all games are somewhat quasi-competitive, but basically, you're going to have 3 natural habitats in which you're going to play flora and fauna, different animals and plants into. And as the game goes on, it goes through different seasons. As the seasons kind of progress, your different animals will have little babies. Those babies go into these actually really cute little nest components that come with the game. And those nests have to be put in between a particular animal and a particular, I guess, plant, whether it's a tree or forest land or, I guess I'll try to think what swamplands in some cases. Again, it depends on the particular creatures that's giving birth to these animals. Now, on the other side, or even on your side, there are predators. And you gotta be careful because, again, based upon how you build up your tableau, maybe if you have a lot of trees in your particular habitat, it'll protect your little babies. If you don't, and if they're exposed, then other people's predators will be able to take points away, score points on their own, based upon taking animals out of your particular nest. You really feel that. You're like, oh, I have this little cute nest with these little screen printed babies in there. Oh no, someone's gonna. You're like, don't no, don't take the babies out. Jeez. So yeah, it's a little traumatizing because it's so kind of fun, realistic kind of vibe to it. Again, you have these beautiful animal cards that are represented in those particular habitats that come into play. The different seasons play out, so it does have that kind of real nature vibe to it. It's not just like you play birds out and then the birds do things. Wasn't that great? You're like, yeah. But the seasons come into play, the life cycle comes into play, and obviously the food comes into play, including sunlight. You need sunlight for your plants, so that's also a food source for the sun. I'm sorry, for the plants. So a lot of fun, really cool dynamic game. That's Biome.
Great. Yeah, no, this is awesome. It's funny to me too how many of these are, I mean, they're all great games, but like this is a first time still single time designer.
Yes.
Had a really interesting thought about like, this is how nature works. This is what I've observed. The babies, man. Ugh, the babies. It's a step too far. But like, yeah, it's very cool to see that approach coming from such a wide breadth of designers.
Yeah, and she really put the work into this because you could see that as far as like, it's not just randomly this animal in this particular habitat. It's really well thought out, and it's interesting, and it's also a really fun game too.
Yeah,
and I think that's a lot of times where you see, oh, nature themes, therefore educational. Like, no, this is pretty fun and also ruthless at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that leads us to our number 1 game. We picked this for a number 1 for a number of different reasons. Obviously, because it has all the wondrous flora that you could possibly imagine that comes into play here, and how you're able to build it up, and again, how the animals come into play and how they're scoring points, again, based upon certain conditions, and of course, the crazy dynamics of all the little meeples and cubes that come into play. Our number 1 game here, Anthony, for, in particular, nature tableau engine building games is Earth.
Right. Do you want to hold 43 cards in your hand?
Well, if you don't, they'll eventually become dirt, and it's fine.
Exactly, it's fine. Don't think of them as cards. They're dirt.
They're dirt. Yeah, Earth is you're strategically growing your ecosystem from, again, some period back when the Earth was young, and you are utilizing a really interesting Tableau kind of model in order to kind of put together the best collections of cards together. So you have a 4x4 Tableau, and once you play the cards out there, you kind of have to build off them. So based upon adjacency, how they're orthogonally aligned, how certain cards benefit off other cards depending on where they're placed in that particular Tableau, and then growing the cards. So yes, Anthony, you're right. You will get a crazy number of cards that's the bad side. The good side is it gives you a lot of options onto what you're able to play into your particular tableau. So unlike Terraforming Mars, where you have like cards you cannot play, you'll always be able to play something into your tableau. And again, as you're taking actions, other people are benefiting from those particular actions that you're taking, and you're able to grow up your plants, again, whatever type of plant it might be, utilizing a lot of cubes and quasi-realistic kind of tree-looking meeples / mushrooms things. And at the time, I thought that the whole board was going to just knock off and all the stuff was going to go crazy.
So stressful.
It didn't, but it seemed like it was going to the whole game. And again, you have realistic pictures here, not artwork, but realistic pictures.
Yeah. It's the visuals are interesting. Like it grows on you. I think at first I was like, oh, I wanted better artwork, and then you play it for a bit, and you're like, no, it kind of all flows together, especially when you like lay it out in that grid. This is a game too. Like I was at a game night the other night. It's at a brewery, and somebody was like, "I'm going to play Earth," and I was like, "I do not recommend doing that in the shared space where people are going to bump your table."
Oh, sure.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess you can stack things." Like, yeah, but it is really it's such a fun experience, and it really narrows things down, and it kind of solves that problem. I joke about 43 cards in your hand, but it kind of solves that problem of, I have 4 cards. I can't do anything with any of them. So now I need to figure out an action that's going to let me get more cards or do something, or I have to take the free actions, and now I'm bored. It's like, no, you can always do something. There's so many options here. You can always do something, and you always feel like you're building towards your own tableau, your own ecosystem, in a way that not all these, many of these games can, but not all games trying to do this are able to accomplish.
Yeah, and your particular tableau is almost completely just flora. It's different mushrooms and plants and trees and forests. Obviously, you have rivers and floodings and other actions that come into play. But basically, if it's not those things, it's very thematically like nature, where if it's not going to grow, it's going to become compost for other things to grow. So those cards do have a point, and again, you'll be growing throughout the game. So whether it's gaining sprouts or planting cards or spending compost, like it all has that kind of very naturalistic kind of theme once you get over and once you deal with the challenge of all those kind of cards. In fact, Anthony, as you mentioned, this is definitely on the heavier side. This is like a 3.0 on like Board Game Geek. In fact, they're actually going to be releasing there's a prototype out there for Earth Express. So there will be a lighter, simpler, faster game that'll be coming out that people will be able to engage with in an easier manner. But once you get it down, once you get the vibe, it's fun. If you don't get the vibe, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have 43 cards in your hand, and someone else is going to get all of the bonus cards that benefit off how the animals react to the environment. So, that's a thing. That's a thing that happens. So, yeah, Earth. Turns out, Earth.
Yeah.
It's
you want a nature game?
It's a nature game. And it really is like the serious, like it is a Tableau builder, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is a serious Tableau engine builder where everything does a thing. So you have to be really careful what things you do. But if you do the right things, you'll be growing a lot of things on your Tableau and scoring a lot of points, because that's pretty much what engine builders do.
Yeah.
And by the end, you'll have like a really weird looking tableau of like these weird, I don't know, cylinder kind of Pez dispenser looking plants growing. That's a thing.
Yeah. It's like little bamboo pieces with like a Christmas tree on top.
Yes. And we've talked about Earth before. So if you go back to our previous episodes, you can find us talking about Earth extensively. Yeah. I think you and I have talked about it separately as well.
I think so, yeah.
All right, everyone. So that's everything for this time. Until next time, this is Chris.
Hey, this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat on Earth. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head-on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.